Hello. Missed you guys. Please let me know if anything is too loud, too quiet. Yeah. So we're gonna have a little chat about Valve's hardware today because I'm quite excited for it, even though I'm not personally buying it for my own reasons, which are more to do with the specifications of it. But yeah, we'll talk about that shortly. I apologize. It has been like what 3 weeks since I've streamed. Kind of just like more of the same as when I stopped streaming for a bit. So I just been focusing on like kind of keeping myself okay and stuff like that, but I do want to stream more because the thing is like I was telling Shelby this earlier, when I force myself to stream, which sounds silly because it's streaming, it's meant to be enjoyable, which it is. When I get into a flow of streaming regularly, like I adore streaming. But when I only do one stream a week, I don't get into that flow. And it's like somewhat kind of problematic towards me being able to be a functional streamer. So, I don't necessarily like to promise one way or another that I will or won't, because yeah, like things are so up and down all the time that I can't really promise that. But my intention and what I would like to do is force myself to stream regularly so that I get in that flow, and then it just becomes a super enjoyable thing for me again, which it will. And I love streaming so much. Like it's definitely been the highlight of the last few years, so that's good. I hope everyone's having a good day. If anybody comes into chat at any point, there is a message pinned. Let me know about your day. I want to talk to you about your day. I don't want to sit here and complain about my stuff. My model fucking disappeared from it. He went all small. But like, I hope everyone's been having a lovely time. I've been hanging out a lot in the Discord recently, which has been really lovely. We have played so much CS, and perchance gambled away a house worth of money together. But don't worry, net profit, we are up. We are so up. I would open Twitter to show you the things that we have been doing, although I know Twitch is a bit funny about gambling. It has been so fun. It's been exhilarating, actually, but obviously that's problematic in its own right. So I think most of us are stepping back from that for a little bit, or at least trying to chill out with it. But we had some major wins, major wins. I was thinking that maybe tomorrow we might have a look at on stream at like some things to do with like the CS market, the skins that I have obtained recently, the loadouts, things like that. I've been really interested in like building up an inventory, stuff like that in CS, and obviously money for pixels, but it's been really nice. I've had a decent size inventory for quite a long time, but as of late, I added a skeleton knife, a pair of gloves, and a lot of other stuff. And it's been really nice to do, actually. My Steam page looks beautiful. Toby said it. It's like, he's like, dude, it's Steam, not fucking Tumblr, but I love it. I heard gambling. We love gambling. Same. Darkus, if you had seen what we had been doing, oh my fucking god, bro. You might have seen the fucking YouTube short that I made. I don't know if you have, but yeah, dude, like it's been so interesting. And there's been like a shit ton more wins apart from just that stuff too. But yeah, it's been really cool. It's been really fun. I'm eating regular Cheerios by themselves because don't feel like making or ordering stuff. Ain't nothing wrong with that, bro. I used to, when I was a teenager, just buy boxes of like super sugary American cereal. Just eat that bitch dry. Eat that bitch dry. Because I fucking hate milk. Well, actually, no, that's not true. So I hate milk by itself, and to me, when you mix it with cereal, it just makes said cereal soggy. And then, like, it's kind of like you're just drinking a cup of milk along with cereal. In the UK, like, UK cereals, obviously the imported ones are a bit different. But, like, they're not that sugary here. There's a lot of, like, sort of, like, regulations on health shit and things like that. Because the health service is socialized, so the more people that get diabetes, the more it costs the system, rather than the other way around in the US, where the more people that get diabetes, the more money the system makes. I've been eating cereal dry my whole life. I don't blame you, bro. I used to just sit and eat Lucky Charms, Cocoa Pops. I think I got Captain Crunch at one point. I used to get these Honey Nut Cheerios. I used to get Frosted Flakes. Like, why would you put milk on it? Like, I don't understand the mental process to do that. Because you are just having a cup of milk and then making your cereal the most disgusting texture a human being possibly could. Like, to me, it's like if somebody... What's an example? Like, if you got a sandwich and then just dipped it in fucking soda. Like, what why? Why would you do that? My friend went on a 15-minute rant calling people who drink milk by itself weird. I mean, who the fuck drinks straight milk? You know, last night Shelby got a fucking cup of milk and she had a camera on. And as minute she took a sip of it, I started talking about the regulations in certain parts of the US. Where like infected cysts in the cow's udder, because they're artificially inseminated and like they're constantly producing milk, the levels that are allowed in it are so much higher than in the rest of the world. But I said all that the second she took a sip of it, and she was so fucking angry, bro. Same friend that thought iron lung was a disease. Ow, there's a cat attached to my foot. Stop. Ow. That hurts. She does this anytime I have to do an activity. She just attacks my toes. Bro, what's your problem? I'll get you. I'll get you. I'll get you. But yeah, Pud's been gambling with us too, which has been quite cute. She's a nice girl. She just sits by my feet all day, relaxes with me. I say she relaxes, she just dug her fucking claws into me. But that's probably my bad. God forbid I sit at my own desk. I'm just gonna change some music, I think. Oh, I like this song. This is relaxing. But yeah, the things that I was gonna kind of talk about with the Steam Machine are just kind of relating to specs and like what it might do to PC gaming as a whole, and then also like the limitations that could come with that, and whether logically it will be worth it if it's going to be priced so much higher than a base PS5, and from what I can tell, performance wise it ain't going to be that different. I want to get a cat one day, but I'm afraid they'll fuck up my figures. Little posable plastic men are fucking expensive. Yeah, I've seen a lot of figures, like when I've gone to this place called Forbidden Planet that sell like figurines and stuff like that. They get crazy price. But yes, a cat will most likely attempt to fuck them up. If they're not in a case anyway. I know my little rats would. Do, 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 do. But yes, anyway, shall we talk about the Steam Machine a little bit? I think that was the plan all along, wasn't it? Get a case then, maybe. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Have you ever had a cat before, Darkus? Or have you interacted with a whole lot of them? They're lovely little creatures. Well, they're not, but they are. They're lovely to humans. They're the most fucking sadistic little things to every other animal known to fucking man, but you know, we bottle and such. Right, I'm just gonna bring up the Steam machines page on Steam. Could you believe it? Steam machine. And we'll probably talk about some of the other hardware too. I just thought this might be a good little idea, honestly, for just a little relaxed, shorter stream. No, but I went to Puerto Rico once, and there was a cat. Chill by my hotel, chill little lad. A lot of them are, honestly, like, with cats, unless they've had, like, you know, like, severe trauma, they tend to be pretty decent. And, like, even a lot of stray cats, like, if they've been treated well by the local humans, they tend to be okay. Obviously, they've all got their own personality. One of mine is, kind of aggressive. Like, so I've worked with stray cats when I was younger and stuff like that, and you know the difference between when a cat is feral and when a cat is just an asshole. Because a feral cat will latch to your face like a head crab from Half-Life. A non-feral cat that's just a moody bitch, they tend to try and give you warnings a lot of the time, even if they grab you or like try and scratch you. The main damage that's done from it is you pulling away from the cat opposed to the cat actually running its claws down you. So Chim, the little one upstairs, most of the time, you know, she'll come over to me, she'll cuddle me, she'll sit on my bed now, she'll relax with me. She, you know, she's all right, but in terms of physical touch, if you sort of don't obey her space rules, what she does is she'll either squawk at you or she'll like lift a paw and hit you, but the claws are in. And what she's basically saying is like, back off, this, I want space now. And if you don't obey that space, that is the point that you will probably get some level of scratch. I'm not scared of her. I've had this for 13 years. Right, yes, anyway. We have something a bit more upbeat. This is an upbeat song. I love this song, bro. Right, yes, Steam L Machine. Alright, so I got up the Steam Machine page. Where do we even really begin? So, as I'm sure the mass majority of people know what the Steam Machine is, it is going to be a PC competitor to, I guess, sort of like the PS5. If you think about the Steam Deck on steroids, that's basically what this is. But it's sort of deceiving. It is and it isn't. So, you know, I don't mean to explain to people that like somewhat know kind of about this stuff, but modern consoles really these days don't use a whole lot of specialized hardware. They're very much sort of just PC parts that they call them like semi-custom. And what they are, they're AMD APUs. APUs usually mean it's a CPU and a GPU combined in a single chip, and then they launch it in a console. So really, in a sense, a Steam machine is that, because with let's have a look. So yeah, semi-custom AMD GPU class and CPU and GPU class. I do believe the GPU is separate within it to the CPU. I'm not sure it's classed as an APU. I could be wrong. We can look that up in a bit. So in terms of that, you know, there isn't a whole lot that separates this, at least physically, from what is inside a PS5. The expected performance is going to be, it's hard to tell because obviously it's not out, but what a lot of people are saying is between the base PS5 and the PS5 Pro, it's going to heavily rely on upscaling for the majority of things, because people are going to be connecting this to 4K televisions. There is nothing in this world, and not even a PS5, that really can truly run high frame rate or even 60 FPS a lot of the time at 4K. Because what consoles are doing is they're upscaling. There's nothing wrong with that. PC's upscaled too if you want to. But a thing that concerns me a little bit with the Steam machine is, 4K 60 FPS with FSR. That's the upscaling. AMD, and I have like anecdotal evidence of this, owning an AMD card in the past. It was a 7900 XTX, which kind of didn't have as sort of advanced upscaling as maybe what this will have. Is that FSR is significantly worse than anything, even at the lower end, of what NVIDIA put in their cards. And the reason for that is often upscaling is done through AI models, and that's how they do it. Even the AI upscaling version of FSR is significantly less mature, and we don't fully know, at least from the normal pages, I don't know if there's leaks, if this is going to be a chip. I'll just double check there isn't anything about what kind of architecture is, well, not architecture, what it's built on. There is a good chance that the upscaling is going to be shit. Now, the thing about that is, though, is a thing that I have to remember a lot of the time with gaming is that people don't notice nor do they care. I'm extremely picky about what my games look like and how they perform. Is somebody who's wanting to get into PC gaming going to care about that? Are they just going to be happy that they have a PC in a console fashion to make it more accessible and not even notice that the upscaling is potentially not as good? Probably not. People won't care. Another thing that I have thought dead on arrival is the wrong word. It's going to sell amazingly, but maybe limit it, is that people who own, well, when the PS5 is on offer for what it's on offer for, are people going to want to buy this? The base configuration is expected to be about £600, maybe $700 in the US. That's the price of a PS5 Pro, and it will not perform as good as that. And one of the reasons for that is Sony often sell their hardware at a loss because they can make the money back on games that are bought on their store. According to the reports that I've seen, Valve aren't willing to do that because I mean, I guess they want both, but not only just that, but like, I mean, I guess from their perspective, like a lot of people already own these games, and are they going to have an influx of sales? I don't know. It's interesting to think about. Like one day I got to show you how WWE 2K18 on the Switch One see his reaction. I dread to think. I've seen a lot of games on the Switch One. That shit is rough. Really funny if it ends up having like hella problems, like QC issues. I mean, it could. Obviously, it's not impossible. Valve are an extremely competent company, just in terms of like quality of product. None of that shit is impossible, of course not. But I mean, Steam Deck, even in its sort of infancy, it was very functional, at least on a hardware level. The one thing about the Steam Deck is when I got one, because I got one day one, the actual OS wasn't particularly mature, because actually that takes me on to another point about this. A thing that kind of sets the Steam machine apart is the fact that it is a PC. It runs on Linux. It's a modified version of Linux. It's like a Linux distro that has been Steamified to have a console-like look. It's very similar to Steam's Big Picture mode, wherever the fuck that is, if it still exists. I haven't opened it for ages. So, you know, this is what you see. In the background, there is a desktop that you can go into and mess around with like a normal PC. um, it kind of blurs the lines in a way because it's just so accessible. But if you want to dig deeper, you can use it in a desktop mode rather than squares with a controller sort of thing. But yeah, it's interesting. I think this is probably a really good move by Valve. Because yeah, I think PC gaming as a whole is quite inaccessible to people, and this is going to be it might not sound it for the price that I mentioned earlier, but this is a very accessible version of having a PC that you could play with your friends on. So yeah, it's interesting. Another slight issue, and I know this from owning a Steam Deck, and granted it's not as much of an issue now as it used to be, is the majority of games running on Steam OS are using a compatibility layer to basically make Windows games run on Linux. That is one of the downsides. Now, Proton, what it's called, is very, very mature compared to how it was maybe 3 years ago. It's not a huge problem, but there was hiccups at least when I owned a Steam Deck at first, so maybe it's put a bit of a bad taste in my mouth, but they have put so much work into it that I don't think it'll be a problem. But another thing that I'm slightly concerned about as well is the Steam Deck Verified program. So on the Steam Deck, the Verified program, in my opinion, is fucked. Because there are so many games that are verified that, in my opinion, during like this day and age, I should not be classed as playable. I remember on the Steam Deck, and it might have changed now, Valheim was verified. The minute things started going on in that game, you dropped down to 15 FPS for it. And it was like, how can Valve say that this is verified? Because it's not. It's not verified to run. No game should be running on 15 FPS. I mean, fucking PS2 games were running at the least 30. It isn't a problem with the hardware, it's a problem with the verification process. Because if it's verified, you should have above 30 FPS no matter what happens as a constant. I am concerned that things will be verified for it that won't work well for it. And one of the big things that might influence that problem is the fact that people are going to be hooking this up to whatever screen resolution they want to. The more pixels you drive, the worse performances. And even with upscaling, it can get a little bit shitty looking. So that also adds into it. How the verification process is going to have to be extremely strict, because it's going to have 3 tiers, in my opinion. Will this run at 1080p? Will this run at 1440? Will this run at 4K? Because you can't rely on FSR to the point that driving a high amount of pixels just looks like shit. You know what I mean? Would you say it's a make or break kind of deal? I mean, not exclusively. No. I don't think it's going to necessarily make or break it, but one of the huge issues with Steam Deck is that people often buy games and then they just don't run well on it. It's not going to break it in the sense that it's going to stop people buying their shit, but it's also just not fair. And I think Valve really do need to think about how they're going to verify games for the Steam machine, because it is not fair to make people buy games and then at the minute someone maybe starts building in a survival game, it hits 20 FPS. Like, no, that's not acceptable. And it wasn't acceptable on the Steam Deck either, in my opinion. I'm glad you got your little figures, Darkus. It's nice to have hobbies, buddy. Like, genuinely. So, right. It's an LED shirt. I have to admit, so I am quite interested in small form factor PCs in general. Not necessarily the Steam Deck, that, you can build tiny PCs that are extremely powerful. Valve's case for the Cube is far beyond better looking than anything I've seen on the market for SFFs. like small form factors. So I props for that, because it's clean like that on a desk side, bro. It looks hot. It's nice with the little LED bar too. So let's have a look at the rest of this. Disposable and board, something to do. Yeah, no, it's really good, dude. Genuinely, like, if it makes you happy, that's amazing. Like, it's really good to be interested in things. It keeps your mind going. It keeps you happier. It gives you something to focus on, aim for. It's good, bro. Really good. So it's a PC. We know this. The Steam machine is optimized for gaming, but it's still your PC. Install your own apps and even another operating system. We are not to tell you how to use your computer. This is amazing. Like, granted, everyone that owns a Steam Deck already knows that this is the way Steam OS is, but it's, in my opinion, like a beautiful selling point. If Valve, which they would never do, they're a decent company to their customers, but apart from in games nowadays, it's such a beautiful thing in a way to basically have the best of both worlds. I mean, you have a console, but you have a PC. If you buy a PS5, you can't just put it into like a desktop mode and go, oh, I want to install an emulator and I want to emulate, I don't know, Wii Sports. With a Steam machine, you can do that, but it's completely optional. Anything that you would do on a normal PC, you can do on that if you put it into desktop. And you can see this guy's using Blender, bro. Like, it's versatile in the sense that you can game on it, you can work on it, but also if there's anything you want to do, you want to emulate Quake from years ago, you want to install Windows on it, you want to dual boot it, you want to put a Wii emulator on it, you want to play GameCube games, okay, they'll let you, because that's the beauty of PCs. You can do anything you want with them. Does it mean that those specific things outside of the normal ecosystem on this are going to be easy and tech problem free? Absolutely not. But they're also going to make the stuff that is within the normal ecosystem of Steam through the console mode more or less plug and play. So you can dip your toes in. You don't have to be versed in PC games. But I mean, also for people who have a huge PC library already and they want something to put under their television, another beauty of it is that all of this is there. Will it all run? As long as it's verified, in theory it will. But anything you already own is there, which is a beautiful thing. You know, when console generations come out, half of the time, and this isn't me shitting on consoles, they have their place. Like, I'm not one of those people that's just like, oh, you don't have a PC? Like, yeah, who gives a fuck? As long as people are gaming and having fun, that's fine. But one of the downsides with consoles, that is a very real downside, is that when a new generation comes out, everything that you kind of own on there, apart from if it gets, say, like a PS6 version, and you log into your account, is not usable on that next iteration. I have games on here from, I'm old as fuck. So when did I last play Rust? From 2016, from 17, 18, 19. My Steam account, bro, is 17 years old. I have 17 years worth of, worth of games that, as long as they get verified, in theory, will work on this. And another great thing as well is that Valve often put a unverified but working sort of tag on them, which what that can mean is it will work if you change some settings. It's not plug and play, but it will work. And that, you know, includes old games, that old Half-Life's, Portal. I mean, those ones will be verified because they're Valve ones, but like, you know, games from that era, like 2008, stuff like that. You know, you could probably play fucking, I don't know, bro. Anything that's older. If you get it working, it'll probably have like a half verified tag. That's a beautiful thing in my opinion. Alright, let's have a look what's next. Made for Steam controller. We'll get to Steam controller later. Great for streaming. So this is another great thing. Steam has a remote play sort of app built into Steam, and it is not exclusive to just Steam devices. So if I'm on my MacBook upstairs and I have this, or even just on the computer that I have now, it's just an additive to this, but it's on all Steam things. I can, through my internet, stream, as long as my computer's on, the game that's down here, play it upstairs, use my controller. It's obviously dependent on internet connection because it's somewhat cloud-based, but it's kind of reminiscent of the PlayStation Portal, but you can use it on more or less any device. It's an amazing thing. So even if you did have a Steam Deck, you could play it on there, but you can also play it on a MacBook. You can also, I don't know, you could probably do it through your phone if you figured out how. But that's also going to go into the new VR headset too, which we'll get to. And that Steam controller also can connect to the device that is further away, play through that, send the signal to said PC. Very beautiful. My Bale Batman been looking the leak now. Very good. I keep thinking about putting like a figure on top of my graphics card on my computer. So this is the lineup. This already exists, obviously. The Steam controller just came out. Very interesting design, but we will get to that shortly. Yeah, we got the Steam machine that we just talked about, and then the Steam frame, which is the new VR headset, which I think needed to exist considering how fucking old, despite the cult following the old one has. We'll just also go through these tech specs a bit. So it's got a micro SD slot, which is interesting for a device like this. USB-C, 2 A's. If that USB-C is Thunderbolt, or even just a decent specification USB-C, I believe, could be wrong. You know, you can use that probably for they'll call them docks. They call them docks? I don't know. You know, you can expand the amount of SSDs. Not SSDs, fuck's sake, bro. The amount of USB slots, you could add anything you wanted to it, and it'd be a high-speed connection compared to these 2A ports, which is pretty good. You got a display port or a HDMI. I'm glad they added a HDMI as well, because I know a lot of console gamers don't really fuck with display port a lot of the time. On the front, a USB 3, another USB 3. A good amount of connectivity, actually. Axolotls are so cute, Darkers. I don't think I've ever seen one in real life. So this is where we get to the specs, and it's an interesting sort of thing because this does go back to the fact that it's going to rely on upscaling, which for me isn't good enough. But it's cheap, so I get it. But for other people, it probably will make no difference because they won't care about these things. So it's a 6-core processor with a TDP of 30 watts. That is extremely low in terms of wattage. However, AMD's CPUs in general are incredibly efficient. So, I mean, it's probably going to put out a decent amount of power in terms of like how it'll do. The GPU is 110 TDP. These are very modest specs, which is what sort of concerns me. I don't know until I mess around with one in the future or look at some people who do when it comes out. But just for perspective, I mean, some of the older AMD 6-core CPUs for PCs, which are classed as mid-range ones now, they're about 70 watts. Wattage isn't everything. Things get more efficient year by year. We hit like a thermal limit at times. So it's like, you know, that isn't a direct indicator of how powerful this device is going to be. Because 30 watts 5 years ago has a different amount of output in terms of like frames and power, like performance, than 30 watts does now. It just concerns me because that is, other than in laptops, probably the lowest wattage AMD CPU I've ever seen. I mean, in terms of gaming, if the graphics card isn't pushing like fucking 400 watts, in theory, you wouldn't need as much to keep up with it. I don't know. It's hard to tell, and everything is fucking speculation on its performance right now. But just looking at that, it's definitely modest, even if we don't know the exact output of it. 16 gigs of RAM is acceptable. 8 gigs of DDR6. I mean, a lot of people say 8 gigs isn't enough anymore in terms of VRAM, but I mean, if you look at the Steam hardware server, the most popular GPU is the 3060. 8 gigs of VRAM. Most people are getting away with it. You know, when you run out of VRAM, it does begin to borrow sort of from other places. Slows down performance. With something that is as modest as this, does it need more VRAM than that? We will see if it hits a limitation. I know a lot of Unreal games would demand more than that, even on lower settings. Well optimized games, maybe not. We will see. Coming in 2 models. Actually, I saw something about this today. People saying that it's also going to be bundled. So you got 0.5 terabyte or 2 terabytes as your options. Some people are saying that each one of these is going to also have a separate thing where you can bundle it with the controller, which will be interesting. With the price of like RAM parts and shit currently, just due to AI companies buying everything up, I believe some of the parts that I've made that use RAM are in like storage space stuff like SSDs. I would imagine that 2 terabyte model is going to be insanely expensive for what it is. That's not really Valve's fault. Shit's expensive right now. 2 terabyte SSD alone in the UK is £200, even if I wanted to put one in my PlayStation. Like it's unavoidable. The base model might be okay, but then you'd have fuck all storage. I mean, that is 4 installs of Baldur's Gate's worth of space. Baldur's Gate. I don't know. I've only done about 50% of this, but I like hearing my friends talk about stuff they're interested in. I appreciate it, Darkest. Don't worry, buddy. Oh shit. Wi-Fi 6E, that'll be good for streaming. Remote connecting to stream it to other devices. If you're going through the Wi-Fi route, but obviously Ethernet is better for stuff like that in terms of latency. Bluetooth, that'll help the Steam. Yeah, so Steam controller. It has an integrated Steam controller wireless that is separate from the main Bluetooth, which is weird. I wonder why. Like, why can't it just connect to normal Bluetooth? Where's it got its own separate thing? Or maybe they are one unit, but that is just running on the 2.4 gigahertz channel opposed to the, I don't know. So yeah, that's what it was basically saying about like 4K input and shit like that. Those are the 2 types of ports it has on the back for video. 4K 240. I guess that's just the upper limit of it. I don't really understand why you would want that on a device this slow, but it could exist, I suppose. FreeSync, yeah. And then in the HDMI one, it can do a max of 4K 120. But it's saying in performance with FSR at 4K, it's only aiming for 60 FPS. And like I said, I am concerned with FSR. It'll be kind of muddy, at least for my standards of things. So I don't know. Hard to tell. It's a very small footprint. Yeah, it's 15 centimeters tall, so it's basically 6 inches tall, which is insane. Like, that's so tiny. It's cute though. I really love the look of this device in general. Like, it is. I don't think any small form factor PC even comes close, which is saying something really. But yeah, I'm hopeful for this, and I think it's a good entry point for people. Like, this is the bottom line of it all. No, like, cutting through the yapping. I think this is a good entry point for people who want to get into PC gaming with it being an ease, providing that the verification process is very well done this time compared to Steam Deck, so that people can just plug and play and have fun. And I'm glad this exists, because in the current PC market, an average PC, even if you get modest specs, you're talking over $1,000, especially in American. This is much cheaper. People can play with their PC friends. They have the versatility of wanting to go deeper if they want to, but it is completely optional. And I think this is a great thing that Valve have done. I'm just a bit concerned about certain elements of it. But those elements might not matter to the people that want to get into entry-level PC gaming. In terms of the other hardware, we got the controller. Oh, excuse me. So, from what I understand, like, the controller is just kind of taking what the Steam Deck has, putting it into a controller format. There's obviously a few other bits and bobs, but this is designed for the Steam machine more than anything else. But I'm sure you could use it on, you know, if you took it and just use it on your normal PC, because I mean, you're using it through Steam, and probably connect just as an Xbox controller would, not to an Xbox, but to a PC. Those thumbsticks, I believe, are Hall effect, so hopefully no stick drifting. These are trackpads. So with the Steam machine being a half PC, half like console hybrid, they did this on the Steam Deck as well. These are trackpads that have haptics within the trackpads. When I got a Steam Deck, though, I had never experienced something like this. So when you run your finger along those trackpads, there's almost like a little rumble, but it's almost like a little click under your finger. Not when you're pressing, but when you pull your finger across it, that really helps you be accurate with it. It's such a strange thing to describe, and it's so tactile and nice. It's really cool. And then it's got rumble in the rest of it too. You know, the controller's perfect for me. I have weird thumbs. Yeah, you must have to hold it like quite high up. But yeah, and I also think this like dips a bit, so it feels sort of more like a general controller, but you will have to, I presume, have the bottom of your hand stick out a little bit further. But yeah, those trackpads are amazing. Like, I can vouch for them. If they are anything like the Steam Decks, it is such a cool, unique experience that also gives you the versatility to do things from it on the desktop mode that you wouldn't be able to do without it, that you would need a separate keyboard and mouse from. It's not perfect, it's just good it exists, basically. Yeah, same as on a laptop when you run your finger across it, but these have haptics that are just so cool. Yeah. I don't know if there's a huge amount else to say about it. It's a controller. It's a very good controller that, in theory, will not have stick drift because it has Hall effect triggers. Not triggers, Hall effect thumbsticks. Very cool. You also get a puck. So you just put it on the puck. It's basically a charging dock built into it. It says that it has 35 hours of gameplay in a single charge. I want to believe them. I feel like everything that is marketed online as having a specific battery life never lasts a specific battery life because it's under very specific scenarios. But then again, Valve are pretty good. It also has gyro control. I believe the PlayStation has this. Gyro control in this is interesting as well because it's through what they call capacitive touch. So on the Steam Deck, the way it would work is you could like bind it to the thumbstick and it would know when you were touching the thumbstick and then you could tilt it. But if you took your thumb off the thumbstick, the gyro wouldn't work anymore, and then you put it on, and it was designed to be like that, so you could basically turn an on and off gyro through capacitive touch. They seem to have done this on the back of it now. Hold and release to enable the gyro. So like, I guess you squeeze it, and then gyro kicks in, you squeeze it again, it stops. I think that's what that means. I'll have to look into that a bit further. But yeah, that's so cool. I love that on the Steam Deck. It's a very difficult thing to get used to. Valve said when the Steam Deck was coming out that, like, you know, it ends up being like really good for shooters and stuff like that. I can't say I ever managed to aim with it particularly well in shooters, but it was somewhat an interesting thing, and it did have its uses, especially for like fine-tuning control in things like Portal, where you use the gyro to kind of, I mean, same as like in Breath of the Wild, really, to like fine-tune where you're going to shoot the arrow, or in Portal, the portal gun. It was very cool. Control and comfort, yeah. Oh, you also get extra grip buttons with this on the back, similar to like a Pro controller, but it is marketed at a price that is somewhat in line with the normal controller on a console right now too, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, and yeah, so you can see you kind of hold it like a little bit higher up, but then if you want to go down to the trackpad, your thumb will like reach it. Yeah, it looks fairly natural despite how it is, if that makes sense. I don't know quite how to describe it. Like, from the look of it, you'd think you'd hold that really fucking weird. Then you see someone hold it and you're like, oh no, that makes sense. Anything running on Steam, that's just, yeah, so you can use it on any device. You can, I believe you can just, anything running Steam. So it doesn't even need to be something using Steam OS. If you just have a window like this, not a window, Steam app installed, it'll work on it, which is sick. Granted, you will either have to plug it in or use it wirelessly. It won't just like be integrated. You'll need some kind of Bluetooth. I presume you can plug it in through USB-C too. Those are all the buttons. That's your back buttons. There's where your magnetic puck connects for charging it. I don't think we need to go through highly specific tech specs of this. I mean, it's a controller. It looks like a very good controller. Let's just have a quick look at the Steam frame. So a thing that's really interesting me about the Steam frame, well, let's just roll it back a bit. Valve made an incredibly good headset called the Valve Index. I believe the Valve Index came out in like 2018, could be slightly wrong. 28, right, so it is still kind of the best out there in certain regards, but it has also fallen heavily behind in other regards. So firstly, the Valve, I'll start with the bad things and then we'll get to what, and keep in mind, this isn't the Valve Index that was on the page, this is the new one, the Steam frame. I'm talking about the Valve Index. So the Valve Index are things that it doesn't hold up with. Resolution count. It's not as high resolution screen as something like a Meta Quest 3 if the Meta Quest 3 is plugged into a computer for PC gaming. I don't want people to get it confused with the fact that, so a Valve Index, because it's running through a PC, will look better regardless. It has the power of a PC to go through it. But the Meta Quest, if you plug it into a PC and, you know, put it at full whack, like the Quest has such a higher pixel count if you're not playing in standalone, so just through the normal headset, but you're playing the Quest on a computer. The Index doesn't have that high of a pixel count because it's old. It's also incredibly heavy. It has a wire that trails a mile behind it. And also, you know, I believe the field of view isn't as good on it as some headsets now. One of the things that it did right, though, is it was the best at the time for PC gaming. It also used base stations, which I believe you can still connect to this new one, that did full body tracking by basically putting, I think they're LiDAR or infrared sensors in parts of your room. It'll track your legs and everything. If you're in VR chat or if you're in any other thing where you need your legs, it does your whole body without having to connect things to it. Also, the Index had controllers that had full finger tracking. So it'd wrap around the back of your palm, like the hand, the grip would, and then you move your fingers and it could do each finger individually. Amazing. And no other headset that's big has done that since. What about the chuckability of the controllers? They're just glasses? Oh, dude. I mean, same as fucking nunchucks from, or whatever the fuck they were called from the Wii. You have straps on all these things. Are you going to use them? Probably not. So, this is sort of a different philosophy than what the index was. However, they are removing the index entirely from the store page. So, I presume this is meant to bridge the gap and give you the best of both worlds. Firstly, you can stream your games wirelessly. Oh my fucking god, bro. So on my Quest, I have done this. It's not as simple as this. On a Quest, to do it wirelessly, you have to use like this virtual desktop thing. It's a fucking nightmare. If your router's not strong enough to bring through that signal, and by the way, this is a third-party app on the Quest. To bring through the signal, you have to have a decent router. It's sometimes better to have a separate router so that other traffic isn't fucking with it. It's not ideal at all. Even though it's cool, it's not ideal. Valve, with this one, is giving you a wireless dongle router. Yeah, router. Valve, with this headset, are giving you a streaming dongle. You plug this into your computer, plug and play. It just wirelessly does it. No more wire trailing behind you or complicated router setups or router setups. You will just get your PC games that are VR through Steam, and it'll just stream them from your computer to your face. Amazing. That's going to be great. It also has foveated rendering. Foveated rendering is very, very, very cool. So a way that works is it knows where your eye is looking. It will load less detail around where your pupil is not looking, but where your pupil is looking, it will render everything at full resolution. That saves a huge amount of, as it says there, bandwidth, but also computer power in general, depending on how it's used. It's so fucking cool. The PSVR headset has that. You wouldn't know that it did because it's so good that you don't know the things on your peripheral vision are not rendered in at full quality because you are just, your vision is focused on the center of where your pupil is looking. It's such a cool technology. And if it worked in the PSVR so well, I'm sure it works fucking amazingly in this too. Audio, I question the quality of that, but let's be real, we can all wear IEMs. Camera tracking for high resolution cameras, so it has inside out tracking as well. It doesn't necessarily mean that I presume you can still use the base stations with it for PC gaming, but it also has inside out tracking. That's what the Quest has, where it knows where your hands are basically through little cameras on the side of it. Applause. Hi, Doodle. How you doing, Doodle? So the controllers that they're offering don't seem to have full finger tracking, which is interesting because they've taken the index off the store. So are we still going to be able to buy index controllers and connect them through this? That's an interesting thought, because that doesn't have full finger tracking. I mean, it's fine if that's what they're selling with this, but I hope we can still buy index controllers because that full finger tracking is so cool. Because, yeah, they have taken the index off the store now, I think. It's interesting. Capacitive finger tracking enhances immersion in these controls. Compatible support with the VR catalog. These controls are fully backwards. Capacitive finger tracking. So it does? I don't know. We'll have to look into this. 40 hours of playtime from a single battery. That's pretty efficient. My fucking Quest won't do that. It's about standalone play too. So this is another interesting thing. This is what I was saying, that they're bridging the gap between the two. So just like the Meta Quest, you can play standalone. You don't need a PC to do this. Should you get a PC to do it? Probably. But for the games that are once again verified, which is another huge thing, because I don't think they do the verification properly for this shit. Like, for the games that are verified, in theory, we can play them standalone. They'll probably look like fucking cancer, but we can try. It's going to have a Snapdragon series processor. That's very vague. If it's the 8 Elite, it might... Well, it says 8 series. If it's the 8 Elite, it might be alright. What's the price range for these again? It's all speculation. Steam Machine people are saying base model like 600 quid, but then the 2TB model might be like 200 or above that, so it might be 800. Like double the price of a PS5. No one really knows about the frame. Everywhere says something different. It has 16 gig of RAM in it, and we know how much that costs. So it's going to be well below the index for sure, but I don't know. We don't fully know with the frame yet. There's a lot more information about the machine opposed to the frame. The frame is a PC, runs SteamOS, verified. Once again, the verification process for SteamOS is fucking shit. And another reason why that is so important, that this verification process, once again, hello Dylan, this verification process needs refining, is because VR is highly sensitive to frame rate. You will fucking vomit and fall over if that verification process is not up to scratch, because it's not on the Steam Deck, as we've discussed 100 times in this stream. Will it? I don't know. If it doesn't, that would be a big problem for this. Is it going to kill the product? Absolutely not. People are going to love it, and most people are going to use it in PC gaming opposed to standalone. But for people's health, it's very important that all the games that are on the standalone version run exceptionally well. Because I've tried playing some Quest games that are on their official store in standalone before, and I've nearly vomited. Especially if you put the Quest in the fucking experimental mode, bro. Where it's like it's like a higher resolution and a higher frame rate, and it just doesn't work. If you answered, I think I missed, because I was just saying that the Steam Machine, all of it is speculation on Price Cracker, but the Steam Machine, the base model, they're thinking it's going to be about 600, but that's for only half a terabyte. The 2TB, if SSD prices are anything to go by, it'll be 200 above that, because a 2TB SSD currently is about £200, and Valve aren't willing to sell this at a loss even to make money on the thing. With the frame, nobody knows. Everywhere says something different, but it will... I can nearly guarantee that the frame will be significantly less than the index, because it doesn't come with the extremely powerful... Not powerful, the extremely high-tech controllers. It has inside-out tracking. It doesn't come with the base stations, and the product itself is lighter. So in terms of materials, it will be so much less, because they want to get this out to more people. They don't want to do what they did with the index, especially with the fact that VR isn't a growing medium, even if it's not a dying medium. They want to get this out to as many people as possible, and you can just tell from it, it's not going to be crazy priced. Because the index being $1,000 in like 2025 was... I doubt that many of them were getting sold anymore, other than people replacing broken ones, because that was just so much more expensive than anything else on the market, even if it was the best of the best apart from the screen. So I don't know. We'll see. The Steam controller is out. That's £85. But it's equivalent to like a... what do you call it? Like a Pro controller, and it has touchpads, and it has Hall effect, so they won't stick drift. But yeah, I'd be interested to find out. Also, some shipments, supposedly it just arrived at Valve, about 2 tons of them, and they were marked console. So the Steam machines are there, and they're going to be taking reservations soon, so we might get a price. I don't know if they're going to do the frame at the exact same time, but it seems like the Steam machine is imminent. But yeah, let's see if there's anything else on the page. So we've gone through the verification process stuff. What resolution is this screen? So would that be classed as... Yeah, because it's not by 1440p. Those are per eye 4K up to 144 hertz, but 144 hertz is experimental. I think the reason that they've put that as experimental is because in standalone mode, nothing will be able to hit that. But if you enable it and connect it to a good PC, it will be not experimental, even though it is. Pancake lenses. Oh my god, if you've ever used a headset with pancake lenses, you can never go back. That shit is bussing. Large FOV. Oh, very cool. You'd be a good tech YouTuber. I just don't have the money to buy all this shit. That's the problem. So yeah, it does have inside out tracking. Can we put this with the base stations? Because if we can put it with the base stations and the old controllers, like, this thing will be amazing. Monochrome pass through. That's interesting. So the Steam Machine has Wi-Fi 6, but this has Wi-Fi 7. And I want to know why. Because if the Steam Machine has 6, it can't transmit it faster than 6. But this has Wi-Fi 7, which is significantly faster. I wonder what the purpose of that is. Maybe it's so it can, like, use these in tandem without much of a problem. That is true, Despair. That is very true. Buying 1,000 worth of retro games from DK. Oh, this, like, bro, you didn't do that. It just did it for his own fucking pleasure. But yeah, that is true, Despair. Maybe I'll do more stuff like this. I mean, I piss around with this stuff even quite often. But yeah, no, like, this all looks extremely promising. And another, like, note I kind of wanted to add about the frame is that if it is reasonably priced, I hope this finally attracts, like, a new audience to VR gaming on PC, because, like, it isn't a dying medium, as I said a minute ago, but it is not a growing one. And the problem is, if something isn't growing as a medium, people aren't willing to invest in it. So if you imagine that, like, how do I explain it? Say movies were making the same amount of money every year and it wasn't increasing. At that point, they wouldn't increase the spending to push movies visually further, or story-wise further, or quality-wise further, because there isn't an immediate, well, we're going to get more each year, more. That's not happening anymore. It's just staying the same. There is money coming through it. There are people buying the games. There aren't more people buying the games, though. It's like the same number of people, roughly, in the PC side of gaming. And people will not invest in increasing technologies inside those games. Every VR game that comes out now, since ages ago, very small amount of reviews, even if they're super high quality. I mean, like, Metro released one that is, like, maybe not as good, but, you know, trying to be on the quality of Half-Life Alyx. It just didn't do bad in terms of reviews. I can't listen to Led Zeppelin fucking just moan right now, bro. You know, it didn't perform like super high numbers of sales. It doesn't matter what's produced in VR. We need more people coming into it and using their existing hardware, such as their PC, and it being easier plug and play through the verification program to basically build VR into more than what it already is. And the option for standalone helps too. Wasn't there a Deadpool VR game? I think I did see that once upon a time. Is that for charging, that USB-C? Like, what's the battery life on it like? 21 watt hours. That, wait, no. Watt hours isn't the same as use time. How long can you use it for plugged in? No, how long can you use it for not plugged in when streaming through a PC? Because it's all good at being 21 watt hour lithium ion battery, but we need to know the power draw of it to figure out when it's not doing it in standalone, how long it'll last. Because if this only had, like, through the streaming mode, like a 2-hour battery, that's not great. but we don't know. We only know the battery capacity. We don't know its power draw. I presume, like, obviously, it's not going to last long in standalone mode. That's just natural of any VR headset that works in standalone. But hopefully, it's efficient enough that if you're just using it through the PC streaming mode, it will last a long time. Because that would be really nice, honestly. Like, my fucking Meta Quest 3, even when I'm using it through, you know, like PC mode, maybe 2.5 hours. I have a battery pack that goes on the back of it or on the back of my head, and it's like, we don't want extra weight on these things, and we don't want to have to plug them in, because one of the lovely parts of what makes this so cool is that it's lightweight and we don't have to be strapped to a cable anymore. So I hope I might research that after stream, see how long it's thought to last. I want to know, what the fuck? Expansion dual high-speed camera interface. Why does it have an interface that you can plug an external camera into it? What would the purpose of that be? Because that's separate to the base stations. That's nothing to do with the base stations. High-speed camera interface that goes through PCIe. Would that be for like face tracking? Like your mouth? Maybe you could put a camera in front of it? Is that what that is? Interesting. But yeah, the core module itself, and the core module being, you know, this bit without the strap and stuff, it probably without the face guard too, around this like outside area, weighs 185 grams. That is fucking nothing. That is so light. The head strap, and like I said, probably the cushioning around the face too, is most of the weight. 0.5 kilogram, especially when most of it isn't front facing. One of the huge problems with VR headsets is they get fatiguing over time. And because they're so front heavy most of the time, it's like dragging on your nose. It's quite uncomfortable after a while. Because this is so light, I think that'll be alright. That might be pretty good. You got your built-in microphones and stuff, of course. So, oh, right. So remember when I said that the Index had like capacitive tracking of fingers, so you could use your fingers individually and it would track them. It says that this has that, but I don't see a. See, this confuses me, because with the Index controllers, you had like a strap that went around here, and your fingers would be around. Well, no, it'd be over the top, and then you could let go, and it'd still be strapped to your hand, and then you can move your fingers individually. With this, I don't see some kind of strap, so even if it has capacitive finger tracking, if you just let go and moved your fingers, would the controller just fall even if there was a strap around your wrist, for example? I don't understand that. So I'll look into that too. But I don't understand how that works. It's interesting. But yeah, that is the lineup. We've obviously got the Steam Deck. This has been out for years. Heavily underpowered console, but it's also so much cheaper than most of them, and even with the lack of RAM and stuff, they haven't gone up in cost, although they are having supply problems due to the lack of RAM from AI buying shit up. Just the personal perspective, I would never buy a Steam Deck in this day and age, maybe 4 years ago, but other than for little games, sort of like Super Meat Boy, some of the very small, maybe Cult of the Lamb at a push, but even that struggles at times with the higher FPS. This is a very underpowered product now, but because of prices going up for everything else, it's kind of in line with what it's worth, especially for this smaller version. And it is one of the only handhelds that has an OLED screen currently as like current gen. Personally, after owning this and a Switch 2, I would go for a Switch 2 if you're going to get a handheld. But if you're interested in remote play from a Steam machine, a computer, or whatever, this is obviously a better option because you can't do remote play from a computer to a Switch. Reason that I love the Switch, it uses an NVIDIA hardware, meaning the upscaling is better and near unnoticeable. Secondly, it's an ARM device, so it's relatively efficient and doesn't put out much heat compared to these x86 devices that are less efficient. But then also with the Switch, it's problematic when it's running at full whack because it doesn't have a large battery because they want to keep the lightweight, etc. It has a not great battery. The Switch 2 also doesn't have an OLED screen. I mean, you just gotta weigh up the positive and negative of these things, but the PC handhelds that are like above this, so you're talking like Xbox Ally X, shit like that, with the current constraints and parts that are available, they're above $1,000 now. No one in their right mind, in my opinion, wants to pay $1,500 for a fucking handheld. So if you're not interested in doing remote play, from my perspective, I would buy a Switch 2 opposed to this. But yeah, I think that's everything. It's all the hardware. It's on its way. This is meant to be very soon. People aren't too sure about this. This is out. This is obsolete, in my opinion. There will be some engineers have been saying that there is a Steam Deck 2 in development, but the problem that they're having and that they will not budge on is a chip doesn't exist for what they want to do. So they want it to be truly next generation. And they want to keep the good battery life. The Steam Deck has amazing battery life. Like, you're talking like nearly 4 hours sometimes, even on the most demanding games, which is just something every other handheld can't do. They want something that puts out enough power but is efficient enough to keep the same battery life. That doesn't exist in AMD's lineup or even in their semi-custom CPUs and stuff. So for now, this is what we've got for supposedly the next 2 or 3 years. If RAM prices come down, in my opinion, this even for the OLED version needs to be lowered. Before prices went up, this was heavily overpriced. Now that prices have gone up, but this price isn't the same, they didn't change it, it's in line with what it should be. But it was like heavily out of line because it was so much less powerful than everything else. And at a point, this was the same price as like an Xbox Ally X that is like twice as powerful. But yeah, that's just my opinion on the Steam Deck. I've owned one. I don't think it's the best product nowadays. And there's that huge problem, as I've said 1,000 times, with the verification process. Like, sure, you're going to be able to play Vampire Survivors on it. Cyberpunk is on it. Like, that thing cannot play Cyberpunk. I've tried. Not in a enjoyable way. I tried to play The Witcher on it. It looks like absolute dog shit and doesn't even run at 30 FPS. Like, Baldur's Gate does not run on it. It's not an enjoyable experience. And when I say it doesn't run on it, of course it launches. It's not playable by what anybody's standards should be, not even me just being a computer snob. Things like Hades are great on it. Persona 5, great on it. Elden Ring kind of runs on it. Megabunk, obviously. The little indie games, if you want to take them on the go, don't get me wrong, this is a good deal. But don't be expecting to play like Switch 2 level, sort of like Donkey Kong Bonanza shit on it at good FPS, because it's just not happening. And every time I've tried to fuck with the upscaling on it, it's had like near no effect on the video game. You maybe get like an extra 10 FPS for the game looking like shit. And the reason for that is that this is such a low resolution screen already, that if it's rendering it at 480p and then upscaling it to 720, there isn't a huge difference in performance because it's already attempting to render it at a low resolution. And the lower a resolution is and it tries to upscale it, the less kind of and it's trying to upscale it to a similar resolution. So like 480 to 720, you don't get the performance gains as, say, if a computer is rendering at 1080p and then upscaling it to 1440. Anyway, I'm going on and on. You guys probably don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But yeah, very cool. Yeah, I think that's about all I can yap about today. I've yapped myself off to sleep. It's been really nice chilling though. I appreciate it, guys. Like, thank you for letting me just go off on one. Man, fuck both. DS better. The DS was legendary, bro. I had nothing about it after it came out. But yeah, no, I didn't either. I'll have to look into that. I want to get into VR again. So many games, such little time, Darkus. But yeah, dude, I think I'm gonna send through a little raid. I'm so glad I streamed and just yapped away. Let's see who is online. Ooh. Oh my god, it just closed my fucking recommendations page, bro. Help. Bro. There we go.
That's my question.
Alright, I saw the streamer earlier. She looks pretty cool. They're playing CS2, of which I am probably going to start streaming since I play so much of it recently. Well, I say recently, I have 1,300 hours on it, but yeah, I think I have to just submit to being a fucking CS streamer at this point, to be perfectly honest. Like, what else am I meant to do at this point, bro? It's all I ever fucking play. Anyway, oh, voice is dying. I guess that's what I get for talking so much. Alright, gang. Maybe see you tomorrow. Talk about some CS stuff. Or something. We'll see. I love you guys very much. I hope you all have a lovely evening. And I'll see you next time.